Avoir. All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of FitPet Boston Talks. My name is Leah Lodato, and I am the host of the show. Today I am doing a solo episode, my least favorite episodes to record because it's always a little awkward to sit here in the studio and just talk to myself, but I wanted to make an announcement, and I also wanted to welcome any new listeners. If you've never listened to the show before, thank you so much for tuning in. This show has historically interviewed local Boston area dog handling professionals. We sit down and chit-chat about our lives, dogs, and careers. And when I'm not doing that, my spouse Laurie and I will sit and talk about a variety of different dog training and handling topics. Laurie's super funny. So if you haven't listened to an episode with her, do yourself a favor and check those out. So heading into the summertime, these podcast episodes may become fewer and farther in between. I'm being pulled in a bunch of different directions right now, and my work schedule is really busy, and I'm doing a bunch of extracurricular things. One of those extracurricular things is founding a new dog sport club. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. So I'll back up a little bit and just talk about what we've been up to in Framingham for the past couple of years. So in 2023, I started a toss and fetch league. If you've been listening for any length of time, you know that I absolutely love playing disc with my dogs. And in 2023, I had an opportunity through a good friend of mine to be able to play, have access to a field. And if you know anything about dog sports, oftentimes it's really difficult to get into both public and private spaces. So if you call a town, a rec department and say, hey, I want to run a training class at a field. What is your rate? Can I get a permit? As soon as the town hears the word dog, they usually say no, or it requires a meeting, which I've done before, and kind of an explanation of what it is exactly that you're going to do at the public space. And it can be a hard sell because when people hear dogs, they think dog park. So kind of like a free-for-all where the dogs are destroying the field and marking and going to the bathroom on the field and things are out of control. And it's a lot of liability for whoever is running the events and whoever owns the property that you're playing at. So with dog sports, if you've been to one, you know that it typically runs a little bit more organized, right? So like one dog out at a time. People are usually pretty good about picking up after themselves, and it's much more organized than it would seem. And with private properties, sometimes you might be playing at somebody's home and might have a bunch of cars there. People might be asking to use the bathroom, and it can just be a little bit difficult to find that perfect spot to play. So we're very lucky to have a space to play. And in 2023, I started a toss and fetch league out in Framingham. It's been extremely fun. And one of my goals was to bring new people into the sport. So I come across a lot of dogs on a regular basis, and I look at the dog and I say, this dog would be a perfect disc dog. And in some cases, it's the owner or the handler that doesn't have any interest or doesn't have time. But sometimes the owner does have interest and the owner does have time and they want to get involved in dog sports. And a perfect place to start if your dog likes to play disc is toss and fetch because it's a very simple retrieval style game. It's basically like a backyard game moved to a lined field with judging. And it's very easy for the handler to understand the concept and the strategy. And if the dog enjoys playing, it is a blast. We have an absolute blast at our Toss and Fetch League. So I got involved in playing disc dog sports in 2020, 2021 with my dog Ruben. It was really the only thing that he enjoyed doing in a competition style event. So I had originally started to work with him on AKC obedience, and we had trialed a little bit and we were very unsuccessful because the environment at an AKC obedience trial was way too much for Ruben. He went through the training and did a really great job, but the trial environment is very stimulating and not all dogs can handle it. And since then, I have gone through and we got our rally novice title and we're working on our rally intermediate title, but I have to be very strategic about where I choose to trial with Ruben. So I trial him in familiar spots. And when we do our run through, I typically will wait at the door, kind of peeking in, waiting until we're just about to get called up into the ring. I run and grab him from the car. We go directly into the ring. He's on the leash for intermediate. We do our run through. He has done a fantastic job thus far. And then as soon as we're done, I say, thank you, Judge, and run him right back out to the car, play a little bit with him and let him rest. So he is just a little bit of a nervous dog. And again, that trial environment was really difficult for him. And moreover, it's not his favorite thing to do. And when I was working Ruben up when he was a puppy and when we were kind of getting to know him, I realized quite quickly that he loved to play. He loved to play retrieval games. Tugging is not really in his repertoire. He likes it, but it's not as fun for him as playing chuck it or playing frisbee. And at one point I had a Kong frisbee, one of those rubber floppy Kongs, and I just threw it up in the air and he caught it. And I was like, whoa, that's cool. So I took a little bit of video and I sent it to April Pelletier, who owns New England Canine Athlete. And I say, hey, do you think that there's anything here with Ruben? And she said, well, why don't you bring him down and we'll try it out. So I did. And I brought him to April's place. We met together. We did some drills. She gave me some tips and we started to play toss and fetch. And I signed up for an up dog event. I had no idea what I was doing. And my personality lent itself to that type of activity because I am somebody that can just walk into a room, not know what's going on, and just kind of figure it out. The people that were running that up dog event, the first one that I ever went to, they were amazing. And they were so supportive. The line judges and the head judge really helped me in those runs, kind of figure out what I was doing. And we were really successful and he had a blast. And all of the nervousness and the anxiety that Ruben was experiencing at the AKC events was gone because he absolutely loves to play disc. He doesn't care where we are, who's around, or what other dogs are around or the people. He just wants to play with me. And we just had so much fun. So I played toss and fetch for a couple more years, did a bunch more up dog, had a blast with him. And then when I had the opportunity to start a new team, I said, okay, I think I'm ready. So the team that we have that plays in Framingham on Monday nights is mostly new players that have started to play in 2023 and 2024. We do have some veteran teams, but the majority of our teams are brand new to dog sports, which is really fun. I absolutely love seeing new people come into the sport. So at the end of last year, which was 2024, I realized that there were a bunch of things on my to-do list that just never got done. I wanted to have practices. I wanted to get into playing up dog. I wanted to be able to do a skills clinic for new players, and I just ran out of gas. So in the springtime of this year, I asked Melissa and Catherine, who have been on the podcast before. You can get to know them by listening to the episodes where they're on. But I asked Melissa and Catherine, who play on the team, if they'd be willing to help me organize a bit of a more formal type of club. Thankfully, they agreed, and we work very, very well together. We are admittedly friends and quite close, and our dogs know each other really well. So it was a perfect fit. And we started a more formal type of dog sport club called the Fetch Collective. So you can find us on Facebook if you just search the Fetch Collective and see a bunch of pictures of dogs catching discs. And the three of us are involved in a variety of different dog sports and activities. So the club will be primarily focused on disc dog sports, but if you see something different on our calendar, do not be surprised. The best way to stay informed is to join our email list if you're interested, thefetchcollective.org, and you can sign up for our email list right on the homepage. We will be running most of our communication via email because social media is a little bit unreliable, though we do have a Facebook page, and if you're on there, you can follow us and we'll post event announcements and pictures and stuff like that. But we're really excited to be able to get into other disc dog activities, notably up dog, because up dog is just a great way to introduce different concepts to your dog. So with toss and fetch, it's just like a super predictable game. You're standing behind the line, you throw the frisbee, your dog catches, and rinse and repeat. With up dog, The games are much more directional, the throws are more diverse, and up dog games are really preparing a dog and a handler to dabble in the sport of freestyle, which is a very difficult game. It is a routine that you would do with your dog. Oftentimes you see freestyle routines at like a halftime show or on TV, and it almost looks like a dance. So the dog is performing different moves. The handler is performing different throws. The handler is utilizing the field. They're moving around the field. And the judges are judging on the creativity, the difficulty from the dog's point of view, from the handler's point of view with the throws, etc. And it's just a beautiful thing to watch a handler and a dog kind of perform together. So up dog games are really meant to challenge both the handler and the dog a little bit more. And it can be a little bit daunting, I'm not going to lie, because there are many different up dog games and each one has different rules, and each event is going to be hosting different up dog games. So as a handler, you kind of have to go into the games understanding the rules so you can be successful and score points and all that. So what we're going to do at the Fetch Collective is host a series of practices and give handlers a chance to practice in a low-key environment, get some good feedback on their runs and on the rules, and just be able to get out there on the field, practice on a lined field at a lower cost, and hopefully wet the whistle a little bit so folks are a little bit more comfortable with these games and can eventually sign up for an event. So if you're interested in participating in our up dog practices, you can go on our website, sign up for those practices. They will be on Fridays in May. And we'll also be hosting toss and fetch practices that are open to the public before each of our toss and fetch season starts. So that'll be a great way for new folks to come and try it out. We're also hosting a beginner clinic on the 1st of June. Melissa is going to teach that. It's currently full. We're super blessed to have a ton of interest in that. And we were only able to take 10 dogs because we want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to run their dog. We'll be doing that up at Gemini Dog indoors, so it'll be a rain or shine event, won't get canceled, and it should be an absolute blast. And the beginner clinics are a great way for new people, again, to just learn a little bit more, because it is a little bit of a wide gap between playing with your dog in your backyard and stepping out onto the field and competing for points. So we want to make sure that anybody new has the support that they need and feels comfortable before heading out onto the field. We certainly will get involved in hosting larger events. It is, we have to be careful of growth, right? So we don't want to bite off more than we can chew, but please stay tuned. The event and registration page on our website will have all of those event announcements. And if you sign up for our email list, you'll be in the know when those events pop up. Personally, I've gotten really frustrated with Facebook over the years because a lot of dog sport clubs run exclusively through Facebook. And social media, for those of us that own micro businesses, is amazing because it's free. And it's also really easy to use, right? You have a picture on your phone, you put the picture on Facebook. It's so straightforward. It's, a monkey could do it. And running a website legitimately that's secure, that is able to, do all the things that you need it to do in order to support your business is a lot more complicated. But being able to have the website and have the email list, it just provides a really streamlined way to communicate with people, because we've all been a victim of that social media algorithm where something pops up on a page, and because you don't interact with that page very frequently, you just miss it. And to me, that's not as efficient as it could be, even though it's free and it's super accessible. So we've decided to go website for the Fetch Collective, and we will try to update that as frequently as things pop up. So stay tuned. The other thing that I wanted to talk a little bit about today is disc in general. So I think that sometimes disc dog sports can get lumped in the same category as like agility or fly ball or fast cat, or one of these sports that are really focused on collecting points and getting high scores, and not very focused on obedience and the general behavior of the dog. And sometimes dog trainers will poo-poo these type of dog sports because they don't always involve these skills that we find very valuable as obedience trainers. So sometimes you might go to one of these events and the dogs are getting loose and they're blowing off recalls and they're barking in the car and they're not waiting before, they get out of the car. So they jump out the car and they're running around excited to play and the owner can't get the dog back. Or the handler is bringing the dog to the line and the dog is acting like a lunatic. And as a dog trainer, we look at these behaviors and we're like, dang, we don't want our dogs to be practicing all of this stuff, because as trainers, we're really focused on obedience. But one of the other things that trainers have recently become obsessed with is the concept of playing with your dog and being able to use that play sequence to reinforce obedience, right? We talk a lot about play as a primary reinforcer. And if you're a pet person, you're probably like, what the heck does that mean? But most decent dog trainers are obsessed with this concept because we realize that play is extremely motivating for a dog. And if we can use play to motivate them to perform these obedience behaviors that we're really looking to become strong, right? Everybody wants a strong recall, a strong sit, a strong down, a strong heel, a strong wait, whatever. If we can use play to reinforce these behaviors, it really expedites the learning process for the dog, right? And if we look at disc specifically, when you watch a handler get out onto the field with their dog and have a successful round, that dog is motivated the entire time. They will do absolutely anything to catch the disc. They are excited to play. They are in a good mood. And that handler has developed a play sequence that they could easily use to reinforce obedience. And for most trainers, I will venture to say, it is very difficult for us to encourage our clients to develop this type of play sequence with their dog. If the dog doesn't enjoy playing tug, if they don't enjoy playing retrieval games, we can't use it to reinforce anything. And disc dog sports inadvertently, without really meaning to, develops this play sequence. The handler is looking at it from a purely points perspective. They just want to get out there and score as many points as possible. But inadvertently, almost by accident, they have developed this bulletproof play sequence with their dog, where their dogs will do anything to catch the disc because they are completely addicted to it. So if you're a trainer, don't sleep on disc. It's a really great way to develop that play sequence with a dog. And it's fun for some handlers. Some handlers don't like it. They feel a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure to be able to throw the disc well, and it's a difficult skill to master from the handler's point of view. But if you can kind of just be a little bit encouraging and have a little bit of skills, it can go a long way. So don't sleep on disc if you're a trainer. It really is worth it. I've seen amazing things, both from my dogs and my clients' dogs, from developing that really bulletproof play sequence with their dog, utilizing a disc or a frisbee. So again, if you're interested in disc dog sports, please check out the club. There are a bunch of different dog sport clubs that support disc dog sports. Most of them in the New England area are down in Connecticut, so we're trying very hard to build it up here in Massachusetts just to get more local people involved. But exciting stuff. Again, don't be surprised if these episodes come few and far between moving forward. I do have a ton of stuff on my schedule and I have a busy work schedule, so I'm going through a couple of different courses as well, so I'm just like with the level of activity that I have that doesn't have anything to do with work. And as you know, we are not professional podcasters. We're here to have fun and talk about what we know, which is dog stuff. We try to stay in our lane as far as the topics are concerned. And Laurie and I have recorded a lot of episodes over the years that dig into some specific topics. And I'm not saying that we've exhausted everything there is to say about dogs, okay? But we've talked about a lot on the show. And you can feel free to reference any of the episodes that we've done over the past. I'm going into the 6th year of doing this podcast. So feel free to check out any of the episodes in the past. A lot of timeless stuff on the show. And I'm always open to doing interviews with people. And I would love to get into doing that again. As I said before, it's really tough to nail down folks. Both of our schedules are really, really busy, and I love to do these interviews in person. I'm not a huge fan of the virtual interview. Not something that I'm going to say I would never do, but it's just not my favorite thing to do. So I try to keep it, face to face, because I think that that's where we just have the most meaningful conversations, and the audio quality is really, really good if we can do an in-person interview. So I will always opt for that. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope you follow the Fetch Collective. Please share the podcast with your friends. If you have found anything to be valuable, rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you're listening on. If you're on Spotify, so easy. 5-star review takes about 2 seconds, and you will hear from us next time.